What can I do for you?
In?
In, but not yet ready to face the world. Won't you sit down?
Look, honey, I'm in kind of a hurry. Would you take a note in for me?
When he buzzes.
Come in.
There's a gentleman to see you. He says it's very important.
Tell him I don't want to. Wait a minute. Never mind, I'll tell him myself.
If you love listening to this show, please consider giving a rating and a review on Amazon Alexa or wherever you listen. We want to continue bringing you this amazing content, and part of our ability to do that means that we need a big audience. Now, it may not seem like much, but rating and reviewing the show will help more people find us, just like how you found this show. Simply on any podcast platform, search for a show, scroll down to the bottom, and push 5 stars. It's that easy. Thanks for supporting the show. Today, I'm joined by Franciska Bray-Mezey, who is the founder and creative director of Aura7 Activewear. Welcome to the show today.
Hi, Scott. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today.
So, Franciska, tell us a little bit about kind of your background before we get into the project that you're working on.
Yes. So originally I'm from Europe. I'm from Hungary. I grew up in Hungary and I was 30 when I moved to the States. My previous life was a little bit different. I went to law school actually, and then I ended up going back to study art management, and I opened up an art gallery. I realized early on that law is not really my field, so I was more drawn towards the design, the beauty of the art back then. And I was doing a lot of yoga just as a hobby. And when I moved to the States, it was because of my husband. My husband is American. We met in Hungary, and then we ended up moving to California. I fall in love with yoga. I have 3 kids, so I become really, really busy with my little kids, and I quickly decided I would like to teach yoga. So I become a yoga instructor, and I really, really enjoy that lifestyle, spending enough time with my family, with my kids, and having that really amazing journey through yoga, discovering myself, learning more about myself, and just becoming more aware of becoming more connected to nature, connected to the universe in general. And I've been teaching yoga, I would say, about like 12 years at this point here in Orange County, where I live. I've been teaching group classes and private classes all around Orange County, bigger gyms like Equinox, smaller boutique yoga studios like Radiant Hot Yoga, also Core Power Yoga. So I've been all over the place. And that's basically my background. And then how did I end up starting this little journey of Aura7 Activewear, what I'm doing right now, is basically through yoga, I realized I was wearing all the time yoga clothing, right? So I was from morning to the night, chasing around my 3 little kids, teaching yoga, practicing yoga myself. And my lifestyle always was very conscious about the environment, about nature. And I kind of find a little gap here where it was more like, I had all the things sourced out as of food items. Where should I shop for my food? Why organic food is so important. Same about skincare. And I kind of felt like there was a missing item about the clothing. And I more and more realized how harmful is some clothing items, some fabrics are. I realized there is a need to create something, but we're going to get into more details. So summing up, that's my background.
Great. And for those that are lawyers that are listening, again, it's a great profession, just not for everyone.
It's not for everyone, exactly.
I remember taking yoga when I was in college, and it was the first class that I had to take early in the morning when you're probably the least flexible. And I remember it was a very tight, small room. And of course, somebody somewhere doing some extreme difficult move would, pass gas.
Around the head.
Pass gas. And then, of course, everyone look around, trying to or pretend as if it was somebody else. Yoga is actually very difficult, right? And I think one thing that I learned over the years is that if you kind of trace back yoga, there are a number of masters. I think there's a certain terminology for them, and their approach to yoga yogis are quite different. Whether it's in philosophy, forms, techniques, some have even tried to actually create methodologies for adherence to some of their techniques and forms. So, can you talk about which lineage that you could trace back to in terms of your technique, your approach?
Yes, that's a really good question. And that's very true that there are so many different ways to do yoga. And my little journey started back when I was 13 years old. My mom actually took me to this lady who was teaching yoga. And it was a great experience. It was a lot of sitting around, a lot of chatting, a lot of just stretching. It was a very slow paced yoga class. And my favorite part was always just to, at the end, we took about like a 30-minute meditation. I was probably asleep by 2-minute mark, most likely, and having beautiful dreams. But I just really liked the experience, but it didn't really make me feel like I'm drawn towards yoga. I did more like running, more challenging physical exercises. And then I really fell in love with yoga. That was here in Orange County, where I took my first class with Core Power Yoga. That was the first time when I really experienced that I needed that physical challenge to start with. Since we are living such a high-paced life, sometimes it's just so difficult for us to unplug and all of a sudden go from a fast-paced life to, okay, now I need to meditate. So for me, it was a really great experience to start with a 60 minutes really challenging yoga class where I felt like my whole body is being challenged. I can keep my focus in the present moment, focusing on the actual asanas, or the actual postures, and through that really becoming aware of my body and really being in the present moment was super important for me. And after that physical aspect, I was able to get into that meditation, and I was really able to focus on my breath and really be able to be in a real shavasana, in a real meditation. So for me, it was a really great way to start a whole yoga practice. And then later on, as I don't ever feel like you master your yoga practice. I feel like it's a daily practice. It's a daily reaching back to yourself, and it's every day is different. And you have to expect that your body is going to be different every single day, depending on how much you slept, how stressful you are, what's going on in your life. And I really feel like my practice changed throughout the whole physical aspect. So I was all about the poses, all about the asanas, what can I do with my body? And then later I transitioned more into my breathing technique to really be able to keep my focus on myself, keep my focus in the moment. And the yoga I teach, what I like to teach the most is similar to that. So I like to make sure that the body is being used, and the body is really create that connection with the mind, and then through that achieving that really calming, really uplifting feeling what yoga can show us.
Well, I think again, you're definitely much more advanced than perhaps myself or some of the listeners. And I think to achieve that state of calmness, that sense of self, and in the moment, you have to go through that process. And again, I think for those that haven't really gone through rigorous yoga, it's very difficult, right? I mean, for those that are starting out, it really truly stretches you in terms of your flexibility, but also your stamina. Some of the moves are actually very difficult to hold for more than a few seconds. So what are your kind of thoughts or advice around people that are on the fringe, maybe taking a class or two, and found that it was actually much harder than expected, versus those that are enthusiasts that, are spending, 10, 20 hours a week on it?
Right. So if you just start yoga, I would feel just for almost like for everyone, just always go into a class with a beginner's mind. A beginner's mindset always helps you to put yourself there is no competition. You're not competing with anyone in the room. You're not competing with yourself. Maybe one day you are able to do an amazing handstand and hold it for 5 minutes, and the next day you just can't find the balance. And that is good the way it is. You just have to just go with the flow, and eventually over time, you're going to start to feel not just the physical, but also the mental benefits of yoga. and the spiritual benefits of yoga. And it's just a slow process. You never ever have to master a certain pose to get the same feeling and the same fulfillment after yoga class. So you can just be a total beginner from the outsider to look at you, but still in the inside, because you're really connecting to yourself and to your breath. You are mastering the yoga practice way more than someone who is spinning around their head and doing an amazing split. So that, I feel like that's the main difference in between yoga and any kind of a different physical exercise, that the main goal is not to achieve a certain body shape. The main goal is not to achieve like a certain pose or be able to master a certain pose. The main goal is to, in the moment, can you be in the moment? And can you, how long you can be in the moment? Because our mind's going to constantly take us to different places. It's almost impossible to stop our brain and stop thinking, but can you just let those thoughts go without engaging to those thoughts and just really be in the moment, feeling your body almost from the inside?
Yeah, it's I've done it myself, so I know how difficult it is, and it's one of those things where it's very much fleeting. And, it takes a lot of concentration to try to stay in the moment, not allow for some of those random thoughts to take over. I want to switch over a little bit in terms of conversation to performance. So yoga, I think for some may perceive it as, kind of a nice, easy hobby perhaps, but really it's a sport. For those that take it seriously, enthusiasts, it's a sport. And as a sport, you need the right equipment. So talk to me about the active wear in the sense of how is it providing from a performance the kind of support that it needs for optimal performance?
So as of clothing for yoga, it's really important. And again, we can talk about the different type of yoga and what clothing you need for different yoga practices. Obviously, for a more yin, more calming yoga class, you can always wear anything, and you need a lot of good tools, props, blocks and straps to really open up your body. Then you go into like a Bikram, like a hot yoga class, you probably want to wear as less clothing as possible and make sure that the clothing what you're wearing is really breathable, and you try to, suffer as small as possible and really enjoy the physical benefits through the detoxification and sweating out the toxins from your body. So I would say absolutely important that your yoga clothing is comfortable and it follows your body and you can freely move in them, doing any pose what you like. And it just doesn't bother you. You don't have to constantly fix your clothing, fix your whatever you're wearing. It just follows your body and really, really moves with that. And also make sure that it's breathable and healthy for your skin, healthy for your body.
So you're touching up a really important point, which is this notion of breathable. And can you talk about, again, the yoga attire segment is very popular and very profitable because it has such a high margin. Can you talk about the kind of materials that's currently used that's essentially, petrol-based, effectively, derivatives, and how that affects performance and the ability to actually breathe?
All right, so there are obviously different type of fabrics. There are the natural fabrics, cotton-based fabric, and so on. So they are obviously really good for your body, really good for your skin. And then, so specifically, we use a couple of really great fabrics. The one fabric, what I use is a biodegradable fabric, and it's super, super, super thin. So I teach hot yoga as well, and I teach in hot yoga studios. And that fabric is one of the clients' favorites since it's amazingly breathable. It almost feels like the way they usually describe it, they feel like it's like their second skin. They don't remember anything. So they can practice, they can detoxify through the fabric. It's not holding anything back. And eventually they just feel like moving in there that they're not remembering anything. They can freely move in their bodies. The other fabric what we use is a polyester-based fabric, but it's made of recycled fishing nets. And that's a really interesting story. We can get into that too. How does it work, the recycled fishing net? But just staying with the subject. So that is regenerated because it's nylon based. It's regenerated in an Italian factory, and they create an amazing, very breathable fabric out of that. So it's super comfortable, and then you can really do your practice in there and feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Again, I think you were talking more about your products and your materials, but talk about the baseline industry. What is the industry using, and why is it not sustainable?
Okay, so polyester-based fabrics, the reason it's not sustainable because it lasts about like 300 to 500 years on the landfill before they're gonna disappear. That's one main issue. So therefore, we look for options and possibilities where we can regenerate those fabrics and reuse them.
Mhm. So it's really more about recycling and a circular economy more so than looking for necessarily a truly different type of substrate or material. Is that right?
There are different, yes. So there are different approaches and different ways to do it a more sustainable way. And but definitely the recycling part, I think it's a really, really important part of it since there is already so much out there, and it's really important to regenerate those and then use that and not just send it straight to the landfills.
Yeah. Now, again, I think the listeners already know because they've been listening to the podcast for some time, is that anytime you basically are dealing with carbon-based products, petro products, you're still having to produce carbon in the process as well.
Right.
It's not a zero footprint manufacturing supply chain.
That's for sure.
Talk to us about this notion of sexy meets sustainable. What does that mean?
All right, that's a great question. So that's what we call our clothing line. It's sexy meets sustainable, and the reason is because again, going back to my own experience, when I was in the search to find eco-friendly products for myself to wear as when I'm teaching or when I'm practicing yoga, or even when I'm like running errands and I want to feel comfortable, I find that there were eco-friendly options, of course, but they were not exciting. They were not sexy. They were not super cute. And there were so many other options out there. They were super cute, looking amazing. And of course, as a female, you kind of like being drawn towards the really cute stuff. And so I wanted to find something for myself that I feel like my best self. I feel like a woman, and I feel sexy. But in the same time, I also know that I'm doing something good for the environment. So we kind of wanted to bring these two together: sustainability and the attractive female factor, the sexiness to it. And that's how we created Aura7.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. It really does. And I guess the question I have is for the larger brands that are dominating the yoga apparel industry, aren't they also thinking similar thoughts as well and feeling like they need to also go towards not only recyclable components, but maybe even other things that are not polyester or petro-based?
Sure. And it's a trend for sure. And it's an awesome trend. And I'm so happy it's happening. That all the brands, I feel like they start to look towards the more sustainable options, the more sustainable fabrics, more sustainable shipping even. And I feel like the entire fashion industry should turn towards that direction for sure. So that's an awesome change. And I'm glad to see that there is change, not just with the small brands coming up, but also with the bigger brands. They already exist and established. Then they're changing their approach of the fashion and changing the back patterns of that.
Let's talk a little bit about distribution and how you guys are marketing it, and what's the medium by which you guys are actually trying to get your brand more visible and increase your customer base.
Okay, so we're definitely working with influencers a lot, and we are very mindfully creating who we're working together with. So our main goal is not just to get the word out and bring it to the highest number follower people out there or influencers out there, but really partner with people and also with companies when it gets to giveaways and other things that they're very like-minded, they have the same values, and they believe in the same values as of sustainability and staying eco-friendly as much as possible. So that is definitely an important part of it. And I also experienced that teaching yoga and then living here in Orange County, there is a lot of people here, they're not enough educated about the fashion and the problems about the fashion. They're very open-minded, and a lot of segment of their life is already organic food to organic skincare, and then trying to do their best to leave a smaller footprint. But because they haven't heard those stories about, like, okay, how is this garment being created? Where was it created? What was the coloring they were using on the fabric? How did it become this dark blue? And what happened in that river in India in the same time? So I feel like a lot of good education can help people open their eyes and turn their direction towards the sustainability, even in the fashion as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned Orange County, and of course, the population is it's very different in the sense of it doesn't necessarily represent the rest of America or even outside of the U.S. Tell us a little bit about who are your target segments, not just those that's practicing yoga, but who are they, where are they, and where do you see yourself in terms of price point relative to your competitors?
Mm-hmm. Our target audience is definitely the active women. The active women can be anywhere in between their 20s up to their 40s, even 50s. And the people, they really like to feel comfortable. They like to feel, and they like to, how should I say it in a good way? They like to feel comfortable. They like to move around all day long, but in the same time, they want to look cute. They want to look nice, and they want to feel their best selves. I feel like our styles, the styles we created, we were very mindful about. It's not just for a certain body type. We're not trying to create clothing what just looks good on a supermodel. We're trying to create garments what's comfortable for all different body types, and so everybody can choose what's the most flattering for their body, and making sure that they're going to feel, at the end of the day, they're going to feel their best selves.
Now, yoga is one segment, but really kind of more broadly, there's just, I think for women apparel, there's many other attires, right? Whether it's for CrossFit,
Right.
general, just kind of, aerobics or gym or running. What are your thoughts in terms of product portfolio expansion into other categories? Or are you looking to just stay primarily focused on the niche of yoga?
No, actually, we're not trying to just stay to yoga in general or from starting on. I'm myself more like a yogi, but I also do, as I mentioned, like all kinds of different exercises. So we're not necessarily just targeting yogis. We are going for, for different workout as well. Pilates is definitely, or general gyms, or running even, or cycling. So there is no limit with Aura7, I feel like, as of the different style of workouts.
Well, again, we've seen in the last easily 10 years plus, active M&A and just real appetite for this segment, especially the women's attire, sports attire. What are you seeing in terms of, whether interest for larger players or distributors want to actually carry a line? Or I guess what I'm trying to say is, how saturated is the marketplace and that you're finding?
Oh, it's a great question. It's not an easy place, but there are all a lot of new sustainable forums and sources where you can, or places, marketplaces, where you can start to brand your products and start to sell your products. So I feel like this is like the same time as this whole sustainability start to become a subject and an importance, and companies are turning towards that direction. I feel like more and more of those different places are coming out, and the one beautiful thing about it, who really cares about this subject and who really believes that this is an important thing that we need to all do all together, there is a lot of working together and openness in that, and supporting each other, even from like bigger companies. I had a chance to do giveaways with larger companies. I was not even nearly close to their level and volume, and still they want to support the smaller companies because they believe in this is a common interest. We all need to participate in order to change the patterns.
Good. Yeah, the prior conversation that I was having on the show was with our friends. We don't have time, and one of the things that we were talking about is this notion of focusing on the positive. So even if it's a small incremental step forward, it's really being able to reinforce that from a messaging to support and to point to that as progress, and that over time it builds up that trajectory to exponential transformation towards climate change mitigation adaptation. So with that, I've been joined by Franciska Bray-Mezey, who is the founder and creative director of Aura7 Activewear. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you so much.
If you've enjoyed this episode, take a moment to rate our show on any podcast platform that you listen to. Scroll down to the bottom and push 5 stars. It's that easy. And as always, thanks for listening.